Welcome to the Parable Arrows podcast, where we wrestle with story to seek deeper truth. We believe that engaging with the art of the world can help us discern more of what God, as the true artist, is trying to reveal in the beauty of his story. Join us as we discuss movies, ideas, and practice engaging with art, God's word, our thoughts, and each other.
Archers, welcome to this episode of the Parable Arrows podcast. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm joined by actually a Parable Arrows legend at this point.
Oh, man.
You were on our Attack on Titan audio episode.
That's right.
You were on the Book of Eli episode.
Uh-huh.
You were a guest panelist at our Signal and the Noise event. And now you done took my job. so Josh Solomon is with us. His name has been mentioned before. And yes, it's kind of, we haven't really talked a lot about our personal lives on this, but now he is taking over my class and teaching all that stuff, and he's going to do a great job. But dude, how you feeling with leading all the young minds in media analysis now?
Hey, you made it hard to follow you up, but I'm trying my best.
Yeah, I
so,
appreciate
prepping everything and making sure we're ready for all these guys to come in. But I'm excited. I think we've got a lot to offer this year, and excited to see what the kids can make. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Dope. Well, our movie today is one that dude, I'm not going to lie. That was a hard sell.
Oh, yeah?
But
we sold it, though.
But you sold it.
That's right.
And it was a good sell. I hate to admit it, but it was a good sell. So we are talking about K-pop Demon Hunters today, which is a Netflix movie made by the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse animation team. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be discussing and analyzing it from our SMART method, which is summary, message, audience rethink, and theology. So without further ado, here is our summary of K-pop Demon Hunters. The film follows the world's most popular girl group, Huntr, a trio celebrated for their electrifying music and flawless choreography. To their millions of adoring fans, they are global idols, but in secret, they are the last in a long line of powerful warriors tasked with protecting the world from the malevolent demons and their king who seeks to consume humanity. The group has managed to balance their superstar schedules with their secret duties, but their world is thrown into chaos with the explosive debut of a mysterious new boy band, the Saja Boys. This charismatic rival group begins to dominate the music charts with a dark, hypnotic sound that captivates audiences worldwide. As the Saja Boys' fame grows, Huntr notices a terrifying surge in demonic activity, with the new threats being stronger and more organized than anything they've ever faced. They soon realize their new arrivals are not just competing for the top spot in the music industry, they are demons themselves with a sinister plan tied to their music. Forced to confront an enemy that challenges them both on stage and in the shadows, the members of Huntr must push their powers and their friendship to the limit. They have to uncover the Saja Boys' ultimate goal and stop them before their final concert unleashes a permanent darkness upon the world. So, Mr. Salmon.
Yes, sir.
In your mind, when you were watching this, because you partially sold this movie to me on the themes. I feel like that's a buzzword, and with people like us who like digging into stuff, is you were like, oh, but the themes are really good. What was one or a couple key messages that were really impactful that you saw play out in this movie?
One of them in particular was that overarching theme of taking on the world on your own. So for that main character, Ruji, I believe, she, even though she was a part of that group, Huntr, she was still keeping secrets from them. And obviously, if you've seen the film, you know how that all comes to its climactic sort of point. But seeing how, even though she had people around her, even though she had all the support she needed, she was trying to take it all on her own. And even when it was all falling apart, she just found out that she couldn't, and how that ties into the honeymoon. It's seen as this great thing, but at the end, was it actually? They said, she ends up turning her back completely on it, saying we need to build a new one, even though it was built on people doing it together, but now it's torn apart because of someone trying to do it all on their own. So that was one big thing for sure, and kind of in that same vein is of taking everything on your own too, is just keeping things from the people around you. in terms of like through obviously hiding her patterns and all of that. And I going a little bit off too. I loved the whole. Guima, the head honcho.
The demon.
The
guy.
whole idea of like how he like brings people in with like the, just like it's the whole way
like
it's
the
represented.
voice.
It's like a little hook.
Yep.
But then from there it turns into like you're not going anywhere. Now you're stuck. And that slow like descent into darkness, I just thought it was represented super well. And I'm sure we'll get into it later with the whole song Your Idol, but dude, I'm just like obsessed with the whole message and how it's put into the song, how it's put into the way it's all shown, how it's like it's never all at once. It's slowly, piece by piece. The characters don't even see it themselves until it's too late.
Yeah. Dude, that's good. No, that's similar to me. I was really drawn. I think it's Rumi, and I literally watched it last night. So it's like Rumi, Zoe, and Mira are the three girls. And for me, I thought a message that was actually really profound was this like preserving an illusion to like keep things stable. That it's better to just lie and hide and keep things in secret as long as people think it's okay. Like it is okay. And I was immediately like, my brain was running through a lot of parallels about like church. I feel like that's sometimes a critique of like church culture or Christian culture is this like, well, you'd rather things just like look good than actually be good. Keeping appearances and stuff. And so I thought that was a really interesting way of like representing that struggle was, that you have this group that's like multi-tiered. You've got them as like a musical group. They have to keep appearances that they're all friends and that they're tight and they're cool, but they're like not. You've got it even from the mentor who's kind of supposed to be the good encourager, but she's not really fully acknowledging everything that's going on. So to me, I thought that playing out was really profound to like challenge us of like, okay, are we, we either as individuals, as part of the church and just our families, our own lives, are we like manufacturing these ways of seeing ourselves? And like, what's the actual consequence of that? But so from your perspective, either of those messages or even like another one, like what do you think people should kind of take away as like a key challenge based on how the narrative and the characters kind of play out in this movie for maybe us in our own individual lives?
Yeah, totally. I would say like, I think a real challenge we could take away from that is like, know why we do what we do, like know why we believe what we believe. Because even with the that mentor figure that you mentioned too, something that's really crazy, like when you're drawing comparisons to like things that we see in real life and in the church, is like that whole keeping up appearances, even when everything had gone completely downhill and it had gone to the bottom, that meant like she never actually made peace with any of it. She was still like, no, cover it up. I'm going to lie. I'm going to do whatever we need to do to cover this up, and we'll just make them believe it. She was one of the characters that actually didn't really get that resolution of like learning her lesson, because we never came back to her. So I think a big part of that, I mean, obviously there's stuff going on in the background with like her grief and stuff, but I don't think she ever sat down like in the process of raising Rumi too and was like, why am I doing this? She never looked at Rumi as a person, just as like a mission that she was continuing on behalf of someone else. And I think people can look at that and see comparisons to that in their own life and say, okay, how can I need to challenge myself to not go through the motions. I need to challenge myself to like know, am I just doing this because I feel an obligation to do it, or am I doing this because I think this is like the right thing? Because I think it's really easy for us to end up defending stuff that we don't even necessarily like agree with or are passionate about, just because we feel an obligation to it. And it's important for us to like know why we believe what we believe and why we want to defend what we want to defend, and like have a real passion behind that, because that's what's going to actually drive any defense that we have from it. So what, I mean, we have like a different set of questions, so we'll get there, but something I'm fascinated by, and I'm curious to hear your perspective, is the whole idea of keeping up appearances is so blatantly anti-biblical that it's really confusing to me, like why it's such a struggle. And not from the sense, because it's like, obviously it makes us more comfortable, it's easy to deal with stuff, like when things are good, like usually you can kind of step back and you don't have to like worry about things. But there's another side where, like there's nothing in
scripture that says like be perfect. Well, actually, that's not true. There are commands from Jesus where he's literally like be perfect
as I am perfect,
and you're like, oh no. So like add some nuance from your perspective into that. Like, what do you think that actually means? Like when we're talking about this idea of like having the illusion of perfection versus not accept, because I think there's a secular and a worldly idea of acceptance too that's bad.
Oh, for sure.
Where it's just like, well, this doesn't need to change, it's fine, like leave it, like you don't need to question anything that you do or that you think or whatever. But so like, where do you see there kind of being like a middle ground in that tension from both sides?
Totally. And I think you're right on the money about how the world has its own idea of acceptance. And if we imagine like somewhere, if there's like a far left, far right, there's something right is probably in the middle. Mm-hmm. On one side, you have acceptance is don't change a thing, you're good. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong, which we know isn't true. But then on the other side, way on the end, we have you need to change everything about yourself, you suck, and which is also not true. Well, parts of it are true on both sides, but I think in the middle is the hardest part, and that's like where you start getting to stuff, to me, like sanctification. And that's the slow stuff, and that's the stuff that we don't want to sit in, where it's like accepting God, we're made in the image of God, but we're not perfect, and we have stuff that we cling on to that doesn't live up to that image. Yeah. And I think, like you said, it's a lot easier and it's a lot more comfortable to keep up appearances that everything's okay, rather than sitting through like the surgery of sanctification and getting those things like taken out of us. But realistically, that's like the middle. Like God calls us to be perfect, but knows that we aren't. And that's like a day by day process of every day becoming a little bit more set apart, becoming a little bit more holy, because like, you know, as Christians, we're called to be holy and set apart. But at the same time, we're not perfect. Yeah. Because when you think holy, a lot of the times we just think, oh, perfect. God is holy. God is perfect. But being set apart is different. Like it's a process. We're getting closer and closer through our relationship with God, through the experiences that we have with Him, through what we go through here on earth. It's not like a resolute thing. We're not going to get there, but it's just like you got to take a step at a time. Yeah.
Which is super interesting to connect it back to the movie, because we see Rumi have that mentality where she's like, I just need to just grind and just push us to this ending where the honeymoon is fixed and we do our last song and it's great and it's whatever and it's done. And then I'm free from this thing, versus interestingly, her having to actually like talk to, I forget the guy's name.
June.
I think June. Yeah. Talk to June and kind of almost like be challenged a little bit and see like, okay, he's not wrong, but he's not right. And I'm not really sure what to do with that. And like, oh my gosh, my friends and the world and things are changing and I'm trying to understand how to like do this stuff differently. And it makes me think of this idea of like almost this call to perfection from God, almost as a challenge of picking a direction versus like an actual expected outcome, if that makes sense. Because like, I think we almost assume in our life that we can keep a neutral position. Like if I don't change anything, if I just live the exact same way every single day, we kind of are like, well, I'll be fine. Like I'm perfect, or I'm like set. But wondering if it's like, well, you're either teetering one of two ways. You're either teetering towards that direction of God's call to restore you perfected, redeemed, or you're going the other way, which is stagnation, degradation, going backwards, stuff like that. But any other thoughts on that? Otherwise, we'll probably jump into our next section in a second. But
no, I think that's good. Yeah, no, I think
Dope.
I got everything out.
All right, good stuff. Now we will catch y'all in the audience in the rethink